Did you know that in Spider-Man Homecoming, when Peter is in school and his teacher asks him a math question, he was able to answer it easily?
Mass cancels out, so it's just gravity times sine.
Is he a genius? Well, as it turns out, he was able to answer the question because it's asking for the equation of a pendulum, the same thing he uses whenever he swings using his webs. Did you know? In Thor Ragnarok, how is Thor so sure that this Odin is actually Loki when he does this?
All right, I yield!
Because if he's wrong, Odin would smack his Asgardian but 2 ways through Sunday. Well, he was sure it was Loki, since when he called Mjolnir, if it were Odin, he wouldn't dodge and would just catch the hammer, since he is considered one of the worthy people who can lift Mjolnir. Did you know that Tobey's Spider-Man is not just strong but also super durable? Here is an example, when Green Goblin used his pumpkin bombs against normal humans. It was so strong that it immediately disintegrated them, but when Osborn used it against him, it only managed to scratch him. Did you know? In Spider-Man Homecoming, this scene of Tom hugging RDJ is not actually part of the script.
That's not a hug, I'm just grabbing the door for you.
It was so good that they didn't just kept it, but even referenced it in Avengers Endgame.
What are you doing?
When Tony met Peter again, here he actually hugs Peter when he didn't expect it. Did you know? In Spider-Man 3, when Peter goes through his emo phase, he bought this suit. But wait a minute. Isn't Peter broke? So how did he manage to buy this expensive suit? Well, as it turns out, if you look at the door of the store, they actually have a major sale for their products. So it explains how Bully Maguire managed to get this suit. Did you know? This iconic line of Falcon in Endgame,
On your left.
is actually a reference to a previous MCU film. This "on your left" from Falcon is his comeback to Cap, back when Cap kept outrunning him before.
Say left.
Did you know? In Spider-Man No Way Home, when MJ falls in the final battle and is saved by Andrew, he gives this teary-eyed look? Well, for some it's pretty obvious why, but for people who haven't watched The Amazing Spider-Man, it's because in that movie, Gwen Stacy, Andrew's girlfriend, also falls the same way. But he was a little late and wasn't able to save her. So him actually saving MJ is a big redemption for his character. Why was Thanos ready to use 4 of the Infinity Stones just to defeat Tony Stark? Well, he planned to use the Power Stone to easily vaporize Stark, then the Reality Stone so Tony wouldn't feel any pain, then the Soul Stone to ensure that his soul is truly gone and won't come back, and the most important is the Space Stone, to send what's left to the other side of the universe. This is the count of the Time Stone that Doctor Strange has, since the Time Stone can only affect a small general area around the user. Did you know? In Iron Man 3, Tony Stark decided to have an operation to permanently remove the shards in his heart, so he doesn't need to wear the arc reactor anymore. What's amazing is in Endgame, after Tony Stark returns to Earth and has a fight with Cap, he removes the housing for his nanotech, and for a split second, you can still see the scar on his chest from that operation. This kind of detail is what makes the Infinity Saga great. Why didn't Steve Rogers just jump out of the plane to avoid being frozen for 60 years? In the first Avenger, we know that the reason Cap gets frozen in the ice is because he sacrifices his life to avoid mass casualties. Then why didn't he just jump out? Even Rhodey asked this question.
And you couldn't have jumped out of the plane before you crashed it?
Well, this is because the jet had a self-driving capability that Cap override by manual steering. And if Cap let go of the manual controls, it would auto-correct itself and go back to its original path. Did you know? When Loki and Thor go to Earth to find Odin, Doctor Strange abducts Loki. Then Thor finds this business card. At first glance, it looks like the card appeared out of nowhere. But if you slow it down, you can actually see the card getting thrown out of the same portal where Loki falls. The VFX artists didn't even need to add this, but they still did. And that's what makes this movie so good. Did you know? When the Future Cap and the Avengers 1 Cap fought in Endgame during the time heist, Future Steve showing up without his helmet was not the original plan. But then test audiences had a hard time knowing who was who during the fight, since they both had the same costume. So to avoid any confusion, they just decided for the Future Cap to remove his helmet before the fight begins.
What's going on?
Why did Spider-Man never use his suit AI anymore?
Would you like me to engage enhanced combat mode?
After Spider-Man Homecoming, the AI that Peter usually talks to was never used again. But why? Well, this is because since Peter Parker became Tony Stark's protege, he was always in his shadow. And instead of the great Spider-Man who only needs his paws to fight, he became overly reliant on Stark tech. So to avoid him being overshadowed by the tech of Stark Industries, they decided to remove it. And after No Way Home, he goes back to his origin, starting from the bottom again. How much innovation did Tony put into his suit? Before, his suit was only designed to fight. But as the years go by, he keeps adding things that also make it convenient for the wearer. For example, when Peter falls into the lake and Tony saves him, he reveals that he even added a heater in his suit.
I put everything in your suit, including this heater.
Well, this is because when he got stranded in Iron Man 3, he almost froze to oblivion due to the weather. So to avoid that, he included a heater in all of his suits. Did you know this heartwarming detail in Endgame? When Tony returns from being abducted, he says in his conference that he wasn't able to say goodbye to his dad.
I never got to say goodbye to Dad. I never got to say goodbye to my father.
But in Endgame, when the team time travels to get the Infinity Stones, Tony meets his dad again, and he's able to say the goodbye he wasn't able to say before.
Thank you.
Did you know? In Infinity War, when Bruce fights Black Dwarf using the Hulkbuster, Cull Obsidian manages to rip the arm off from the Hulkbuster. But what's amazing is that in Avengers Endgame, when the team goes to the garden to fight Thanos again, if you look closely, the arm of the Hulkbuster is still new and not painted yet. This means the time frame between the snap and this home invasion is just a few days, and they didn't have enough time to fix the Hulkbuster properly. Did you know how strong Thanos is? We know that he really is super strong, but Marvel even added small details to show just how strong he is. For example, in Black Panther, we're shown that the vibranium armor T'Challa wears can absorb kinetic energy and redistribute it later.
The nanites absorb the kinetic energy and hold it in place for redistribution.
But when Thanos punches Black Panther, his suit wasn't able to absorb the pure strength of Thanos and explodes the kinetic energy outward. Which means even vibranium, the strongest metal on Earth, cannot absorb even a single punch from Thanos. Did you know that the heads-up display of Iron Man is so packed with details, but most people tend to overlook it? For example, when Iron Man fought Thanos, he fired off these homing missiles. What's amazing is before he even fires it, if you look at his heads-up display, you can already see Friday preparing the missiles. Why does Thanos' skin keep changing colors? When he first showed up in Avengers, he had this deep violet skin. But when he shows up again in Guardians 1, his skin is a more vibrant purple. And in Infinity War, when he's on Titan, he turns to light red. Well, this is because his final appearance was still getting finalized until Infinity War. Nah, I'm just messing with you. It's mostly because of the lighting. Did you know that when Nebula travels back in time to steal the Power Stone, she uses her bare hands to grab it, which causes her arm to get damaged? What's amazing is when the past Nebula replaces her to avoid suspicion from the other Avengers. She wraps her arm with bandages, so others won't notice that her arm is not damaged. This shows how smart she is. Did you know this amazing small detail in Iron Man 3? We all know Aldrich Killian became a villain because Tony Stark ignored him at a party years ago. But here's the twist. That same party had another person Tony ignored. Dr. Wu, the surgeon who removed the shrapnel from Tony's chest, was also brushed off by Tony that night. So while one man tried to send Tony to Shadow Realm because he was ignored, another saved him, even after being ignored too. Who funded the Avengers after Tony Stark retired? After the 5-year time skip since Thanos' snap, we were shown that Tony decided to retire. But during these times, the Avengers were still functional. So who funded it? Well, Pepper Potts was already the CEO of Stark Tech back in Iron Man 2, and she continued to provide the finances for the team's expenses, since even in these times the world still needed the Avengers. Well, that, and the royalties from Rogers the Musical. Did you know how Tony Stark controls his nanotech? Unlike before, where he needed to instruct Jarvis from his heads-up display, his nanotech is now connected to his brain. It's good, but also has drawbacks, since whatever he thinks will manifest in his suit. For example, when they're in the Q-ship, Spider-Man keeps talking about pop culture references, and one of them is from the movie Aliens.
Ever see this really old movie, Aliens?
So later, when they fight the Guardians, Tony's weapon comes out looking like a xenomorph, the alien from that movie. Did you know how advanced Jarvis is? It's not just because he follows Tony's every command, but even without Stark's input, Jarvis acts on his own and handles situations automatically. For example, in Avengers 1, when Tony asks Clint what the weakness of the Chitauri army is, Hawkeye mentions that they can't handle tight corners.
Find a tight corner.
I will roger that.
What's amazing is, even before Tony acknowledges it, in his heads-up display, you can already see that Jarvis already found a place with a sharp turn. Did you know that in Spider-Man Far From Home, even before it was revealed that all the elementals Spider-Man and Mysterio fought were fake and only made using holograms, there were actually a lot of small details hinting that everything was fake. One example is when Peter fights the fire elemental, Beth tells him not to get too close.
Spider-Man, keep your distance!
I'm trying!
People think this is just so Spider-Man won't get burned. But actually Mysterio says this because if Spider-Man gets too close, he'll realize the fire isn't hot and notice that everything is just an illusion.